Omi tutu, ona tutu, tutu lawoye, kosi ku, kosi arun, kosi ejo, kosi ojo, kosi idna, kosi hala. I call upon the power and spirits of my maternal ancestors. I call upon the power and spirits of my paternal ancestors. For I am spirit of your spirit, blood of your blood, bones of your bones, flesh of your flesh. I call upon you to come forward to hear my prayers and requests.
All right, so are you saved is today's topic for Good Morning Ori. Before I start, I want to ask y'all a quick question. What did y'all think when y'all saw that title? Did y'all think I lost my mind? Or what did y'all think I was about to talk? I'm just curious right now. When you even hear that concept, what comes to your mind?
The old church.
Yeah.
She came out of work to say that one. The old church, huh? Do y'all feel like the church got a monopoly on the concept of getting saved?
It's the
In a
program.
sense, yeah.
I couldn't hear. Hold on, Tiki, what you say?
It's the program.
It's the program. Okay. Who else said something?
I just feel like they're not even connected with what that word means. I mean, it's just like a word.
Mm.
They almost use it synonymous with like I'm a Christian, so therefore I'm saved. Like it's no work or nothing attached to actually, and what does saved mean? It's not like I'm a righteous person. Like the concept seems very convoluted to me.
Okay. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. I can feel it. So, with that being said, wait, hold up. Tahima, what you over there holding your laughter back from? I can see like you want to
No, I'm
bust
just
out
listening.
laughing.
I'm just listening because I really do. I see where the brother was going because my mind was going in the same direction. Just, every religion to some effect, I think, would have a similar saying to saved.
Mm-hmm.
Being saved is coming into wherever you are, whether it's a Muslim being saved into that religion or coming to that vision, or that's just how I see it, being saved. Everybody, is not just that Christians have it on lock. It's just that that's what we're familiar with. But I think that everybody, when people come to their congregation or whatever they call it, mosque, they always welcome people because they want those people to be saved by, their word.
Mm. Yes, this is going to be interesting, Sienna. You ready for this,
I
Sienna?
believe no one can be saved. That's where I'm at.
You said
do
no
the
one
work.
can be saved. Okay.
Yeah. Saved from what?
This is going to be an interesting conversation.
Personally, I think it's like self-save. I think it's going to be interesting.
Okay, I'm glad y'all all said that. Let me ask y'all the first question of the day. So, are we still living? Because some of us are not initiated here, I understand. So I'm going to just put this in a broad spectrum of understanding for what I'm about to say. But are we still living? Watch this. Listen to what I'm about to say and don't shoot the messenger. Are we still living as we once did prior to getting a Dafa, to Ita, or Isefa? Are we still dealing with the same people, speaking the same way, harboring the same thoughts, eating the same food, drinking the same drink, smoking the same smoke, going to the same clubs, dating the same person? Talk to me. It's a lot of quiet right now. Hold on. It's a whole lot of quiet in the
But
room.
I can only speak for personal experience, and I can say no. I can say, my life is completely changed because, as the brother was saying, they say saved, but they don't give you, it doesn't matter. I don't think they give you directions to how to be saved. Or, because like Sister said, she thinks that, that she doesn't need to be saved. But there's different things that we go on in our lives that we need to release. And being saved may just be releasing that to go on to the next thing or go on to the next level. And that does mean change. And that's work.
Anybody else? I'm looking for the answer though. Are we still living in the same situation?
I'm
I
not.
would say yes. I would say yes and no. And what I mean by that is, so I would say in the past, when I had this feeling of I need to be saved, I didn't know my Odu, right? So a lot of the stuff that I was wanting to be saved from was actually in my Odu. So certain patterns would pop up. Did I deal with them differently? Yes.
I'll take a shot. I would say it depends on one's ori, how you're thinking about it. If you still go into any spiritual faith thinking you need to be saved, you're going to act the same. But if you come and change your perspective, you can do things differently. So I really think I really think it's just someone's ori where their mind is at.
Let me lay a foundation here about being saved. So for me, the concept of being saved is no, that's not something like Christians believe, I'll say that, where they believe that something is coming to do something for them and save them from whatever is out there, the boogeyman that's out there coming to get them. No, the boogeyman is you. So the question about being saved, because we do understand that there are consequences for not getting it right in this lifetime. We do understand that, right? There's no burning hell, don't get it twisted. But there is consequences for not doing what you're supposed to do, particularly for those who have their Odu, have made the commitment and the sacrificial agreements to do so. There's consequences to you not doing what you're supposed to do. So with that concept being laid out, when I say saved, it's almost similar when you really think about it, because they're trying to be saved from a burning hell. We don't know what that looks like coming back to this world if we don't get it right. We have no clue. But you will be back if you don't get it right. That's what this whole thing is about, is to figure out and to fulfill your full destiny. If you don't get it right in this life, you have to come back and start over again in a different way, and we don't know how that's going to be. Now, with that being said, some people looked at the people in church that tried to follow church to a T as the ones who thought they were holier than thou, right? Sometimes it was more of the arrogance that they had. But the question is, were they correct at attempting to follow that book to a T or that word to a T? Now let's bring it over into what we do in Ifa. Are we required to live a so-called sanctified life in Ifa too? Are we required to follow these messages to a T, the best of our ability, or no? Or we got grace. Ifa and the Orishas will give us grace, and the Orishas will come in and take up some of the slack for us. How does that work? Talk to me. It's a lot of quiet today. I'm let that marinate. This is all I like to see. Thinking minds. Come on, y'all. Somebody take a jab at it. Don't wait for Mike Tyson to show up. Are we required to live so-called saved lives in Ifa?
See, the way my mind works, I think of the word required. And I think there's a standard that Ifa has. But we have choice to follow or not. Based on what we choose, we will get whatever it is that we are going to get, whether that be positive or negative, based on how we're showing up.
But
like, are we following our
right?
taboos? Huh?
The goal is to have positivity, right?
Right. So what I'm saying is, yeah, the requirement can be there, but ultimately we have to make the choice and decide to follow the Odu.
Yeah. But the question still remains. I know required seems like it's pigeonholing someone into a corner somewhere. But when I say required, let's keep it above. There's no gray area in Ifa. It does not exist. It's either you're doing it or you're not doing it. So if you sat down and said, I'm going to get this goat poured over my head, I'm going to take this Dafa and this Odu, and I'm going to make this ritual, I'm going to do this sacrifice, I'm going to do these things, you are signing a blood contract to say, yes, I will do this. And here's the messages that I need to follow in order to reach this particular destiny in this lifetime, right? If you don't follow it, what is that called? It is called choice. It's probably a bad choice, but it is your choice. Now, the question still remains, are we required to live this straight and narrow, I'll say? Is there any room for or wiggle room for mistakes? Absolutely. Yes, there is. That's what they call dafas and readings and elbows and sacrifices and coming back to the mat, apologies. We can hear it in all the prayers. There is forgiveness. But if we just go completely off the rails and do what we want to do, there is a consequence to that. And you may even suffer that consequence while still living on planet Earth. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna move to the next one because this
well, can I say something on that one before you move on, since no one said anything? In Ifa, how I see it, there is a requirement. Yes, you have choices. And as the sister said, your choices are gonna reflect your blessings. But there is an obligation to have good character, to have Iwa and Ifa in order to get the blessings and the things that you're going to the Dafa, to your readings, that you're going to your elbow. You know, you need to manifest in order for those things to manifest as clearly or as you would like in abundance. You know, you are required to have good character and to make good choices. Now, we don't always do that because we're not perfect. That's why we can go back to the mat. That's why we can, we connect and make our connections. But there is a requirement to have Iwa, to have good character. But like I said, we're not all perfect. But in Ifa, good character is top of the top of the top of the top. So it is a requirement. But choices override that at times. But okay.
I have a question based upon what we just talked about. Choices. And I've told this scenario before, so I won't bore y'all to death, bore y'all to life, the ones who've been here already before. But when it comes to choices, we do have them, right? In this world of Ifa, I want to paint a picture real quick. You have heaven, and then you have this small membrane layer called Ipin between heaven and earth. Then you have earth. Us in heaven, people, the spirits in heaven are sent to earth, but Ipin is that layer that kind of governs the planet Earth, I'll say. right? And what Ipim means is choice. So while we're all here on earth living out these old dudes, yes, we have the right to choose what we want to do. And based upon our Ori and the programming of Ori, we will choose accordingly. If your Ori is not wired to do certain things, it's probably going to be difficult for you to do something that you're being asked of that is not necessarily wired to do, right? But you still have that choice to make. It doesn't stop the fact that you've been told to do so, right? So now, this story is actually coming out of Obeagunda, and it's a brief story about how Ori was on Earth, not getting what it needed to be successful, wondering why, offering all these sacrifices and doing everything ritually he was supposed to do, or she was supposed to do, but just wasn't achieving everything on Earth. His or her offerings were not reaching heaven. Why? Because Epine choices were consuming all of his ebos, her ebos and offerings. Why? Because the choices were not always correct. Now, it doesn't matter if the person could be successful. I'm talking like successful beyond measures. I'm talking Puff Daddy, Jay-Z, successful. It doesn't matter. That success doesn't matter to the spiritual realm, what you have acquired financially or materially. It doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is, have you fulfilled this darn destiny? Don't matter how many bedrooms or bathrooms or cars you got in the garage. If people around you are starving and you're not using your IJ Tutu to help other people or to improve the planet Earth. So, with that foundation being laid again, told y'all this was going to be an interesting one. How do we get to the mindset, now that the foundation of being saved is laid? How do we get to the mindset of living a saved life? If you've been in an Elay, or if you're in an Elay, again, so I don't really do Elays, but if you've been in an Elay or you're in an Elay, just sit around and watch the people in your Elay. Is there anything in that Elay that reminds you of where you came from?
It did, and that's why I'm no longer in an Eli.
What do I mean by that? I've been in an Elay one time, and that Elay, they would do rituals. They would buy OT for the flavor so that they can drink it while they're doing the elbow. So it tastes good to them while doing the elbow. And then afterwards, everybody make drinks out of that OT, right? And then they chase the drink with a gang of blunts or whatever else they wanted to do. I'm like, I feel like I'm in the hood. I've seen this at Dinker Park. Like, this is what we used to do back in '89. Like, I've seen this before. How am I in a space that looks or resembles where I came from that I don't want to be anymore? Are they supposed to be all holy and sanctified and singing every Ifa song or Orisha song and knowing all the verses and walking the verses to a T, wearing pristine, clean white every day? That's an option. But is that what you expect? Not necessarily, but I don't expect the hood. I don't expect to get up from the mat or get up from this thing and walk out and see all of this and people running around here talking crazy, cursing and acting like they are definitely in the hood. I just don't expect that. That's not being saved to me in the realm of Ifa. The purpose of this whole thing to me, if you come to Ifa, is that you want to change your life. You can do this anywhere else. But if you're going to come to this and you're going to sacrifice animals, let alone your word, and we're going to be the same? It's a lot of quiet today. Let me help everybody out.
Well, me personally, just going off what you just said, just because, I mean, and everybody's change is going to be different according to what they're trying to do with their life.
Mm-hmm.
And just because if I go, because I've been to several elays, just not as a member, but just visiting. But just because I go to an elay and I see that over here, this group is over here cussing and doing whatever. Okay, that's where you are on your spiritual path. That doesn't mean I have to go over there to that group and engage in that, because that's not where I want to be.
Exactly.
Okay, so that means I consciously make a choice not to go over there to that group. There are several people in the alien which you could commune with, and with, don't force it. Don't force the vibe. But you can't, I don't think that it's fair for me to tell another person, oh, well, you're not being Ifa because you over here cussing. You're not being Ifa because, hey, you just left the mat and you doing this. I can't say that because they're on a different path. I personally feel like that brings a little bit of negativity towards me. I'm being negative there because I'm judging them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people that come to an elay and they not have much, and you don't know where they're coming from. So they may not be dressed the way you think that people should be dressed at the elay. But that again is judging, and that's pushing people away because you are trying to put them in your box of what you think Ifa should be. And I don't think that's very fair. And that's just what I want to say based upon what you just said.
Thank you for that. Am I judging? Would that be judge? I'll use me as an example because I said it. Am I judging? No. I'm judging for me. What they do ain't got nothing to do with me. So if I walk in the room and I see what they doing, I got a choice to make. And my choice is to judge for myself and walk away.
Ashe.
That's my choice that I would exercise, because at the end of the day, everybody, like you said, people are at different levels of this thing. Everybody's not going to be the same. But if I walk into a place and this is the level that we at, oh no, I'm not at that level at this point. So I got to move on. God bless y'all. But hopefully that changes. But I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to put myself in that space either. So don't judge me. I'm walking away. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's how I move. Like, it got to make sense for me. Because again, if that's the case around, and trust and believe, there are things. There's nothing wrong with. Let's be clear. I'm gonna be clear about this. There's nothing wrong with alcohol, right? I mean, the Rishas take it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in context, it becomes a different thing. In the wrong context, it becomes a different thing. And in that space, let's take my Odu for instance. I don't drink a lot. I don't drink too much at all, technically. If I do, it's very privately in the house. I rarely do something outside. I got to be in a comfortable space to understand if I'm a drink or not. Because what my Odu says about drinking doesn't say I can't. It just says be careful when you do. Right. So alcohol is a thing that people are able to do. This is not a bad thing. Don't get it twisted. My only thing is the context of the environment that it's in and how it's being utilized in that space. That's the thing for me. So, and there's multiple things. We're just talking about one area, right? We're just talking about one area. But can we cover all areas of Ifa? Ifa is so vast that it would be almost virtually impossible to put everybody in the same box and say follow everything that Ifa says, because nobody knows it all in the first place. But at the same time, there are certain things that we do know. There are certain things that are just basic 2 + 2 math that we do know that should be easier to follow and to adhere to and to understand that my alliance is not to a Babalao and a Luo or Isefa. My alliance is not to you. My alliance is to Ifa. You can only do the ceremony, but you can't be the one. You weren't there when I selected that Odu. You weren't nowhere in the picture. So my job is to follow what I've already agreed to before I came to this planet, to the best of my ability. And if it's safe to say, I think that's everyone's, I hope everyone's goal to do the same thing, to the best of their ability, is, I may add, if that makes sense. So with that being said, hopefully y'all okay. I'm hearing a lot of silence today, but I knew this was going to be an interesting topic. Wish I could see more faces, but let me give a couple of references, because y'all know me. I don't really do what Baba Makanju Allah has to say or Baba Ola has to say. I only really do and go by what Ifa has to say. So let's see, I put a couple of inserts here, Odu-wise. I'll start with this one. Because if we think we can do what we want to do despite being told what we need to do, we are living in a dream world. Right? So, Owarin Erosun, those who live in a dream state are the ones who only fool themselves. There's nothing you can do, almost like Santa Claus, there's nothing you can do that Ifa doesn't know you're doing.
Sure.
Especially if you're contracted. Awos, Ianifas, Babalaos, I believe that they are held to a higher standard than average followers of Ifa that come to get initiations, not initiation, but dafas and readings and do ebos. They're held to a standard, but we've contracted. So we got to get out of the dream world. Okanaran Ogbe says this: obeying taboos and doing sacrifices will bring you prosperity. Now, I wanted to make a note of this. When I say sacrifices, the number one sacrifice is your Ori accepting the mission. When I said, are we doing the same things that we were doing before? That is kind of what I put this down here for. Your Ori has to accept the mission. Meaning that whatever you have been doing has become a program in your head that you may not want to delete just yet. You may be emotionally attached to it. You may feel like it works for you this far. It got me to this space. I've been doing it this long. Why should I stop doing it now? Notice I said obeying taboos. Not just the Odu, but the Odu is telling you what you shouldn't do. Now, most people are pretty good at these taboos. Food taboos, alcohol taboos even. But the character taboos are hard. Why? Because food is not technically a program. They're habitual to some degree. And somewhat, they could be somewhat addictive. Macaroni and cheese is addictive to me, but I made a way to make it vegan. You know what I mean? I got a vegan method for curing that drug. But at the same time, the external taboos are difficult for a lot of people. The character ones, the internal ones are more difficult than the external ones. But the number one sacrifice in this method is the mind. The mind has to accept what it needs to do. And it's hard. I can tell y'all firsthand, it's super hard to do that. Or rework is the hardest part of this thing that we do call Ifa. I don't care what nobody say. It's easy to go take this go head off, but for you to just stop doing certain things, like that's difficult. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking because I just read an Odu. I live it every day. I'm living it today, right now, in this very moment. So it's a difficult thing, and I empathize with those who are in that space. But persistence is a mug, and patience is a mug. It will shift and change. Otura Ogunda says, he who is honest, the deities will support. What does being honest look like? Well, in a nutshell, Ifa's definition of honesty, and pretty much, I guess everybody's might be right, is that if you tell me something and I investigate what you tell me, when I investigate it, it should show up the same way you told me. But after I investigate it or you tell me something, you should be doing it. Honesty is separate from the truth. The first part I said was the definition of truth. But when it hits the corner is when you got to do what you told the truth about. So if you truthfully said that I wanted to come change my life, if I help me change my life, I'm going to get this initiation done. I'm going to fly to Africa. I'm going to deal with all these flies and this stank air. I'm going to deal with all this craziness. I'm going to do all of this. I'm going to sit in this room for so many days. I'm going to go through this ritual. When I come out, I'm going to do it, Ifa, because I know that you can help me. Well, Ifa's going to test your truth and honesty. And taboos are a way of testing that. Greetings, everyone. I am Baba Makanjula, and this is PowerOverRead.com. Did you know that every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we host a brilliant discussion on Ori called Good Morning Ori? If you would like to join us this Sunday, please go to our website, PowerOverRead.com, and register at the website. And every week, you will receive the link to attend Good Morning Ori and join the discussion on Ori. We have different topics every Sunday. We're at about our 130th episode. We've been running them for 2.5 years now. So we want to invite you. Bring a friend, bring someone. If you really want to be a part of the Good Morning Ori discussion every Sunday, please, including this Sunday, please go to PowerOverRead.com. Click right here, PowerOverRead.com, and register right now. I am Baba Makanjula, and this is PowerOverRead.com, and I hope to see you this Sunday at Good Morning Ori. Ashe. And taboos are a way of testing that. Any questions, any comments so far?
Bob, what was that first though, dude? You said it was a Warren Erosun?
Yeah, a Warren Erosun. Anybody else have a question? Concern? How are y'all feeling right now? Is everybody okay? Are y'all still here? So, Sienna, you okay? I'm looking at your face. You look kind of like, what the hell is Baba talking about?
No. I'm fine. I think it's more about this is not what is given to us before we get to the mat. So it's hard to hear that the importance when a lot of Babalals and a lot of Vianifas aren't sitting us down before we make a decision to understand what's going on with our character. So for there to be so much weight around it, and the only time you hear it in an Ile is when someone's saying it in a prayer, Iwa Pele, Iwa, good character, but they're not actually walking in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's frustrating for those who come to seek some sort of a guidance if that's not the message that's being given.
Sure.
Yeah, I totally understand it. I mean, everybody here should know my story by now, so I won't bore y'all to tears with it. But this is why I do our rework. This is why we do this. Like I chose this path for that reason. Because yeah, Sienna, we come from the same space. Like, it wasn't told. They quick to take your money and initiate you, but they don't sit you down and tell you this before you make this agreement. Like, I want to know this. This is basically a fraud contract. Like, you did not disclose everything to me. And I feel like I've been jaded, but at the end of the day, you've already made the sacrifice, and that Odu is moving and it's not stopping because you feel like they didn't tell you that. So now we got to figure this out in real time.
Well, can I ask y'all, because I'm just listening to this, because my father is a Baptist preacher. Mm-hmm. And when people come to him for advice, he don't sit down there and lay out, okay, well, this is happening because of this. This is happening. They'll pray with you and they'll try to get you comfortable and they'll try to get you on the right path. They'll tell you things, even in Christianity, they'll tell you things, but they don't sit there and hold your hand, and they're not going to sit there and say, okay, well, your character, because that's something like what you said earlier, is something that should already be known. We know that when we do good things, we don't get whoopings. Mm-hmm. We know when we do bad things, we get whoopings. Mm-hmm. So why do you expect the Babalawo to sit down there when your own preacher, no matter where you go, I don't know anybody except monks. They're very, very, very detailed with that. That sit down there and try to direct you through the aspects and through the maneuvering, your personal maneuvering of your character. So when we get to the mat, you should already know that your character, because all throughout our lives, we've been talked about our character from birth, our character. We may not say the word character. We may not say the word Ewe, but it's always about how we do things. If you do this, you're going to get this positive. If you do that, you're going to get that negative. So I don't see the difference, personally from that statement, you're holding the Babalawos and Iyanifas in a much, I guess, pressure seat than you held your preacher. That you held, just don't understand that concept or that mind state, if y'all could help me.
Please.
May I respond to that?
Hold on, Bobby, because I think she's asking me and Sienna, right?
Yeah, because I have like I said, I know my father. I've seen that, and I see the Babas. I see both. Mm-hmm. And for me seeing both and being up close to both, mm-hmm. It seems like your expectations are different from the Baba than it was from your preacher. So I'm trying to see, why is it different, and why do you have a different expectation?
This one's about to be on YouTube. Hold on. Please. Okay. First of all, before I say something, let me be courteous. Iya, do you want to respond first? Or me go first?
Yes, good.
Well, for me, that's why I left the church. I wasn't about the preaching, telling me do this, that, and the third, and then I'm saved, all is well, because that's not what was happening for me. So I left the church. I was atheist for the majority of my life, actually. Then I went to the church, realized why I was atheist, left the church, but still felt the call to spirit because I started having dreams, right? So no one came, there was no human being that came to me and said, this is Ifa, these are Orisha. It came to me in dreams, and then I started following those instructions. And then it led me to the temple that we came out of. My issue was being someone that literally knew nothing about this, only was receiving guidance through dreams, to not sit me down when you know the Odu that came up, you know what I'm going to deal with. That I feel is irresponsible.
Sure.
When you're on the
go-
mat, I'm just curious. Did you feel comfortable asking questions? Because I've always been told, do not leave that mat until your questions are answered and you're comfortable with your answers. You ask as many questions as you need to before you get up from that mat. Because that person, whoever the Babalabo you went to, you're going there for a reason. There's no reason for you getting up from that mat confused. There's no reason for you getting up from that mat, not understanding what is transpiring. So it's got to be a communication between you and whomever you're seeking help with. It's not a one-sided thing. So I'm just curious, when you got up from the mat, did you ask everything that you needed to ask? Because that's very important. Even if it's about the Odu, I'm going to ask. I got my notepad when I go down there, and I got my questions, and I'm going to write why they're doing something, why they're saying something. I'm writing. And I'm going to ask before I leave that, because that's my responsibility, because I'm going there. Like when you go to the doctor, he tells you what you need, but he may not get in depth with you until you ask a lot of questions. So I've been that way even with my kids. I'm at that doctor and I'm asking tons of questions because I need to know what you know, and I need to feel comfortable with the information that I'm getting. So if you leave that mat and you're not comfortable, that's not the Baba's fault. You got up from that mat and you didn't question. You got to question.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that I'm just not saying that's what
I
you
was
did.
saying
I'm just
I
saying
agree
in
with
general.
that. It was more about, if you go somewhere you've never experienced before, you don't know that that's what you're supposed to do. So the point I'm making is, in that beginning meeting of, hey, wow, this is a real thing. This isn't just my dreams. Like, there's real life.
And that's
people.
beautiful, by the way. I'm sorry, that's beautiful.
Right? So my question was, hey, what is it? Like, I was led here, help, right? That's all I knew to ask, because I didn't even know what this was really, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. That first initial, when someone's seeking that guidance, whether it be that feeling of I need to be saved, that wasn't the reason why I went. It was more of, this stuff keeps coming, so let me figure it out. But like, I think it's important for those things to be known prior to getting initiated. That's all I'm saying. Like,
no, I think it's very important. It is very important. And like I said, because that's why I come from a Baptist. That's why I can only correlate and give you examples from that background. And I think a lot of us come from that background as well. I just feel like we have to take some ownership and responsibility as well. And when you go to a Babalawo and you're new, I feel like in that Elay, I don't know how every Elay is set up. Even the one I go to is not set up this way. But I feel like in that Elay, it should be someone to greet you, someone to talk to you, and someone to give you information prior to going. And that's my personal feeling. I feel like every Elay should have an Iya there with responsibilities to do that. But I do feel like, with that being said, it still is your responsibility when you leave that, before you leave that mat, that you are clear in your heart, that you are clear in your mind, that you are clear in the questions that you wanted to ask. But I do agree with you on that wholeheartedly, because when new people are there, it's scary. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what the process is. Because I mean, And you need to know those things. You need to have a comfort level to know those things, to know that you're going to be able to ask questions, and know that you're not going to be rushed, or know that, whatever your time is, all those things are important.
I go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to make sure we share time with the other people. I see hands going.
I'm sorry. I'm done.
Just don't care. But I did want to respond to you real quick. I'm going to send it over. I think, Charles, you still want to say something, right?
I do.
1 second. As soon as I go, hold on. As soon as I go, I'm going to bring it back to you. Then we're going to go to Allison. So, yeah, in a nutshell, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, in any kind of way, the church lied to us. So, period. So, if we came from the church and we felt like we were lied to, and we're coming to the thing that they stole everything from, pretty much, and we're coming to these people that are Babalawos and Ianifas who's supposed to know the information, you're taking my bread. It's a contractual agreement, a mutual one is I give you something and you give me something back. But if you just give me an Odu and that's it, and you know the consequences of this Odu, you're not doing your job. Number two, majority of us coming to this have no clue. For instance, I walk into the room one day and here's Chief. And I'm walking up to Chief and they're like, no, you can't just walk up to Chief. Why? He a man. That ain't how they do it in Nigeria. You got to do it their way. If we don't know, how are we supposed to know? But we supposed to know all this backdrop information because we sat on the mat and agreed to pay this money and get this initiation done? That's not realistic. What's realistic is that you're supposed to know this. You've been around this long enough to understand, and you probably understand that I don't know. And if you understand that I don't know and you still take my money and you send me out into the wolves of this world, dealing with this energy on my back and my head now, that's wrong. People commit suicide for stuff like this. I've even thought about it a couple of days when I was going through my situation. I got an old dude that told me I was going to die if they didn't do this crazy elbow for me. That's how bad it had got because I didn't know what I was doing. I was depressed for like 3-4 months. So these people are taking our money, knowing that, again, like I told a few people before, like these cats don't understand us. They don't, even the American people, they understand what it is, but they don't even want to deal with their own stuff, let alone help us deal with ours. But the ones who are coming from Nigeria and that's bringing all this stuff and taking all this bread, they don't know our story. African Americans are wounded.
Yes.
We've been lied to for 400 years, and we finally get to something that seems like it came from where our ancestors came from. We are happy and excited. We don't know what the protocol is technically, but here we go with the people that we are trusting to give us the information, and they give us half information. It is all on them because guess what? If you told me and I still didn't ask, then I'm wrong. But if you don't tell me and you give me half-baked information, you are completely wrong. That's why we hold them accountable. I hold myself accountable now to this day now, because now I understand. Now I get it. Now I know what I must do for me. So I don't need to call nobody to see what I got to do for me at this point. I know what it is. I don't need to be in your E-lay to feel like I'm involved with anything. I don't need that. But if I go and commune, I'm just going to because I feel like it. Not because I feel the necessity to be in the midst so I can be around the people and get the messages. I don't need your messages too much no more. All I need is what I know how to do to take care of myself and feed Ifa and communicate with my Ori directly to Olodumare. Everything else is secondary. Now that I understand the concept. But before I didn't understand it. And there's a lot of us in that same scenario that don't have, let's keep it buck, the information is unlocked. It's secretive. It's like a good old boys club. It's worse than the church. At least the church, you got a book you can go read. This stuff is oral.
Yoruba, no, Ifa is a verbal.
Exactly.
Verbal. There is no, even the books that you go read, from what I've been told, A lot of the books don't have the correct information, so they're really, not the best sources,
Mm-hmm.
out there.
Yeah.
So that's why, it's just a verbal thing. So
Now,
yeah.
now imagine trying to navigate that through all of that crap. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. You have no idea.
No, you
Hopefully you get
don't. But I
somebody
do
good.
agree with you. Like you said, your Ori, when your Ori tells you to walk away from something and it's not right, because there's a lot of elays in places that just they're not gonna have. I mean, people are people. They're not gonna be the
Yeah,
best place to go.
yeah, yeah. But that's the dilemma we're dealt here in this particularly in America. So I can't speak for Nigeria. I'm sure they got a lifestyle over there that we don't have.
I don't know. We gotta ask. We gotta research. Ask about that Baba before you go get a reading from that Baba. See what that Baba's character is within the community before you go and ask for a reading, because I don't want to sit in front of a Baba that has bad character, because no, I can't be guaranteed that, what your energy is not going to shift my energy.
Yeah, yeah. Let me help you out. Everybody here has gone to church before, right? Everybody here has been to church before, right? Okay.
Yes, I know.
Has anybody here actually shifted churches? They were in a church home and then they didn't like this church and went somewhere else. Anybody besides me did that before?
Yes.
How many people actually go research the pastor?
I started after the third church.
After the third church, I mean, you went to three.
Hey, I was a kid. I was just following behind my grandmother.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, most people don't do that. You come from church background, which again is don't ask any questions. You better not question God. That's the mindset that people come from. So you're coming into this thing where you see chickens' heads being taken off. You see all this stuff that you ain't never seen. You've seen the chicken in the grocery store, but you ain't never seen how it got to the grocery store, right? So you see all this actual activity of grocery activity now. It's mind blowing. You don't know what to say to do to this. All you know is don't question God. And here are these people speaking a language you don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Nah, that's not realistic, man. I mean, that may be for you. That may be for you. But for the vast majority of people coming into this, it's not realistic. That's not realistic. They're not going to do it because, again, the Ori is programmed from the church coming into this. They're going to have to shed that and wean themselves off of it. I'm sorry, Alice. Go ahead. I see your hand been up for a minute.
I was about to say, Allison, I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, sorry. Hey, everybody. So hopefully what I have to say is not so far off at this point now, but I guess to the last part you guys were saying, I would say most of us were not born into Ifa. So it's not like we saw like a sign, oh, come to this Ifa, church or temple or whatever a sign might say. So I feel that at some point, if it was through dreams or if we heard about it, we all have access, in my opinion, to many resources online. We should have a basic understanding, I would say, of what Ifa is before we put our money down and pay for something we have no idea about. We all are in an information age. We may not go so deep, some of us like me, go down a rabbit hole and I end up somewhere crazy. But we all, I think, have to do our due diligence before we come into something. We may not have all the answers. Some people are bolder and ask lots of questions. Others really don't, but we should at least have some knowledge of Ifa before we come. That was just what I was going to say. And then before that, when you were talking about character, and like coming into Ifa, because for me, I was raised in the church before I was born. Like my parents were two different denominations. So I was in church like almost every day. So it took a lot of deconditioning, I guess, in a sense, for me to come into Ifa, and I'm grateful for it. But one thing I wanted to say is character is required in essentially all religions. If it's Buddhism, Jain, whatever it is, good character. Before we come, we have to know we got to have good character. To what level? Like, Ifa, I found it so detailed in comparison to Christianity. Like my old dude, I was like, dang, how do they know this about me? You know, it was amazing, but also the like taboos that they gave me, they were hard. But like Baba said, the character ones are the hardest. So for me, I wasn't able to wear like anything with flowers or patterns. If I go out, I can't get all dressed up and fancy to see my friends for brunch. I got to be kind of like plain Jane, and that, you know, that's kind of hard. But say controlling my temper is really hard because I've been trying to do that maybe for like 35 years, you know? So it's like, I think when they see us trying to make changes, some might be harder than others, but some things we can do immediately, even though it sucks. And other things we just have to keep working on. And I think if we keep working on it, they'll recognize that we are trying to get to that amazing state of Iwape. Okay, I'll stop.
I say. Yeah, Allison, real quick. You're new in this. I
Okay.
want to ask you a quick question. You said this is applicable to all religious and spiritual practices, which you are correct. But my question is, define good character. What is that to you?
I would say basically it's just like the golden rule, or even like as far back as say the principles of Ma'at, or the Ten Commandments, or the golden rule, which applies, you know, just be a good person, don't murder, kill, shoot, steal, covet, envy, you know, things, the basic things we know we'll have to do. But others require more, maybe fasting or maybe abstinence from certain things like alcohol, depending on the path.
I'm glad you said that because I kind of figured you would. So again, this is what I'm talking about, Iya. Where she go? Yeah, I'm sorry. What's your Ifa name again? Tahima?
Ifa Sheon.
Shayon. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. So that generic ideal, right, of good character, it does transcend in different areas, right? But Ifa has a different definition of good character. Now, if you don't know that, you're going to come into this with this concept of good character, thinking because I ain't killed nobody today, I followed the 10 Commandments. That's called basic math. Okay? Ifa's math is a lot more geometry based, algebra 2 based, calculus based, right? It's a little more complex than that. Why do I say that? Because good character requires you to do exactly what she said she was struggling with. She said she was cool with the dressing thing, but the other character trait was the test. That is a test of your character. The good character comes in for my old dude, anger. If I allow somebody to get me angry, it's usually rooted in some reason why that thing even angered me in the first place, right? So if I can't be angry in Ogbe Yonu, and I gotta watch my anger, or not even my temper, but my anger in Ogbe Yonu, what is good character then? Good character is first not allowing yourself to be angry. That's a simple answer. But the more complex answer is to figure out why that bothers you. And that takes you to a different space of getting to the root. It may even take you back to when you was 5 years old, 11 years old, 20 years old. You don't know when it started for you, why that thing angers you. But the good character part is for you doing your due diligence to figure out why that bothers you. Not just sitting here and being quiet and not trying to be angry. Now, what does that require, y'all? Or rework? That requires you diving into you and figuring out what's in your head. How did it get there? Does it serve you? Is it helping you to conquer these taboos you've been given? And if not, how do I get rid of them? Anthony.
Hey, Baba. Just for the sake of Allison, maybe you should tell her the 8 character traits of
I'll
Ifa.
tell that. That's for the classes. I keep that in the classes, but on purpose is If people have their Bible hours, they should, like Ia said, seek those answers from your Bible hours. But if you want to know, that's why I teach classes. I'll keep that for that. I'm not anyone's Bible hour. I'm just teach or rework. So if they got questions, hey, the sewing class is cracking tomorrow if you want it. Anyway, so with that being said, I know we are well over the time right now because usually an hour, but I knew this was going to be an interesting one because I was talking to somebody and they actually said it to me. They said something like acting like you saved. I was like, that's a good concept. That's a good concept. I said, I'm gonna use that Sunday. But the moral to the story is this. Greetings, everyone. I am Baba Makanjula, and this is PowerOverRead.com. Did you know that every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we host a brilliant discussion on Ori called Good Morning Ori. If you would like to join us this Sunday, please go to our website, PowerOverRead.com, and register at the website. And every week, you will receive the link to attend Good Morning Ori and join the discussion on Ori. We have different topics every Sunday. We're at about our 130th episode. We've been running them for 2.5 years now. So we want to invite you. Bring a friend, bring someone. If you really want to be a part of the Good Morning Ori discussion every Sunday, please, including this Sunday, please go to PowerOverRead.com. Click right here, PowerOverRead.com, and register right now. I am Baba Makanjula, and this is PowerOverRead.com, and I hope to see you this Sunday at Good Morning Ori. Ashe. The moral to the story is this. Even if we use the Jesus story, if those who know history know that they were talking about Christo, Christ-like, which means the light, being like the light, being like the highest power, basically. You're mimicking the highest power, not necessarily Jesus. We should understand that by now, right? But if we take this concept into Ifa, it's telling you good character, particularly for those who have initiation in Odus. And for those who've been initiated who don't have their full Odus, I feel for you. But if you've been initiated and have your full Odu, good character looks like you mastering that Odu. You fulfilling that Odu. All the other Dafas and stuff you're going to get, they're important, but they're not your Odu. They're temporary. They only last 17 days, maybe 30 days at most, depending on how severe the Odu is. But for the most part, it's only going to last you 17 days. If you've been initiated, and I'm not talking about a hand of Ifa, let me be clear. A hand of Ifa means you got one hand of information, but you got two hands. You don't have the full picture. You need to have the full picture. So the hand of Ifa will protect you temporarily for a time frame, but not for the rest of your life. You cannot conquer that Odu that you have for life until you know what that is. And even after you get it, your Iwa Pwele is predicated on you being able to follow those commands to the best of your ability before you jump in the ground. Does that mean you got to walk around all perfect and got everything done the day after you leave initiation? It'd be great, but no. That's why you have life to live. So you can figure this stuff out and accomplish it before you go back home. Do we know what day that is? No one knows. But that is the goal. Any closing remarks, last statements before we get out of here? This has been very vibrant, y'all. I like this one. What's up?
I'll go, Baba. Baba, when you got initiated, did you get the full list of information that you needed? Was everything presented that you needed to know, or was there a lot of stuff left out?
Man, by the time I got initiated, I had worked so many different initiations. Remember, I was my Oluo's basically personal slave for like 3-4 years. So anytime there was initiations done, Hana Lifas, Esentayes, Ebos, Dafas, I was kind of always there. So I pretty much knew what to do before I went in. I was the only one that kind of knew what I was doing. When I was pulling my old dudes, I already knew how to pull the king. I already knew everything.
Wow.
So by the time I got in there, yeah, I got everything. Like I had the recorder ready for him to speak. He didn't give me anything printed out, but I had the recorder able to ready to record it. But technically, I had had this Odu probably like 3 or 4 times before. It was actually my Odu for my marriage I was in at the time. So I had it so many different times that I was kind of like, oh, but it came in a different array, so it was different messages. So I had everything ready because I had been prepared for it for 4 years coming.
Had you not known that, would you gotten the full game, everything that you need to know? Do you feel like you would have got everything that you need to know had you not known that or had those experiences?
No, I wouldn't have, because I've done it before. I came in there and didn't know what to ask and left and just had to figure it out. But again, as I got used to it, I understood I can't ask certain questions, and I didn't feel bad about making them sit there and answer my questions.
Oh, sir.
Just going off what you just said, basically, I'm just thinking about myself. I really need to make sure that if I'm there at whatever function is going on, like how you said you were able to go ahead and do your own, you could read the Odus, you could read, so you were really preparing yourself so that when you got there, you were understood everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just taking that away.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot that goes into that. If you come into that brand new, all you've done is a couple Dafas and you go into that,
yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is, because you're still brand new.
Yeah, it's a lot. So,
okay.
Even in Dafa, most people don't even see the Ebo part when they first come. They're not involved in that process. A lot of people, but
really?
Yeah, a lot of people come. They do this. They do the Dafa part, and they get the Odu, and they leave. But when it comes to the Ebo, they leave that usually a lot of time for the Babalawo do, and they trust that it was done. Right?
Because where I am, no, you stay for the whole thing. That's your elbow, so you stay for your elbow. But okay, I'm gonna definitely read information. So thank you so much, and thank you.
Yeah, it's a real thing, y'all. I mean, for those who are new, this is again why I do a rework. This is why I do this. This is why I started it, because there are misconceptions about what people know, should know, don't know, gotta know, want to know, and there is there's no uniform to this. Like there's no book. Everything is usually oral. And the books that you're gonna read, you better be able to trust what you're reading. And how you gonna know if you trust them to read if you've never really been through this process? I was lucky enough to do what I said I did, and that was to sit down. That was after going to a few different elays and coming back to that same elay. That's when they sat me down. I started this in 2009. I got my hand to be 514 and initiated in 18. So it took me about almost 10 years to get to the point of initiating. But that 4 years that I had, yeah, it was well worth every minute of it because I got an understanding of what it is I'm doing. And I didn't leave there without clear understanding at all. I got everything I needed. Probably and some more. Appreciate all of those who continually support Ori and our efforts. Again, we have classes, 30 hours of information of training to help you to understand this concept. We are basically eliminating the excuses now. Like you don't really have an excuse at this point. I got 30 hours of stuff that I've curated for this purpose solely. If you want to know more about that, you know how to reach me. You can call me or you can go to the website, poweroverread.com. You can leave a message there. You can email us at grow@oriene.com. That's ORIENI.com. Or you can just go sign up at poweroverread.com. Thank you, Sienna, for the beautiful song words, birds that you gave us earlier. Thank you, everybody, for being here and listening and seeing this through. Hopefully you got something that you can take away and use in your tool belt. There's no one answer for everything, but you can always add to your tool belt. And that's what I'll try to do. If nobody has any other comments, we out. Have a good week, y'all.
Peace and good character. Iba, all Orishas.